Hi, I'm Jake Gunn. I sound so cheesy. I decided to do my project off of The Little Mermaid written by the Brothers Grimm. To read off of this because I have the memory of a goldfish. The Little Mermaid was written by the Brothers Grimm, but later rewritten by Hans Christian Andersen. Now, compared to the movie made by Disney in 1989, the original story is so much more depressing, but not as dark and depressing as Sleeping Beauty, because in that one, the prince bangs Sleeping Beauty's dead body. The Little Mermaid is the daughter of Triton and has a lot of older sisters who have all seen the surface, because when a mermaid turns 15, they are given the right to go above the sea and sit on the rocks and watch the world above. Mostly humans. Ariel has heard the wonderful stories from her sisters about what they had said and they had seen many times before. Eventually kept seeing it too much and they got bored and stopped going. But Ariel's grandmother told her everything about the humans, and that's where her fascination came from. That's why she has a marble statue of a handsome man. Ariel wanted so badly to see the surface after years and years of waiting. She turned 15. She went to the surface. She saw a huge cargo ship passing by. She got onto the ship deck. She sees a handsome prince that looks remarkably like her statue she had when she was little. Amazed by the handsome prince, she falls head over tails for him. Love at first sight, blah, blah, blah. The ship starts to sink because of a soon following storm. Many fell overboard, including the prince. The Little Mermaid swam over to the prince and saved him by dragging him up onto a nearby beach. She admired every detail about him until someone came along to help him, and she swam off. After that, she gets home, and for weeks on end, she could not stop thinking about the handsome prince. So my mom interrupted me while I was doing the filming thing, and she cooked fish. So much so, she actually stalked him. She found his castle and would just follow him around in the ocean. Wherever he went, you would look out a window and she would be there, but he never noticed she was there. She actually started to hear what the townspeople were thinking about him. She wished to be a part of his world forever. However, that was impossible because apparently mermaids live up to 300 years and have no soul. Just like all other sea life, apparently. So when they die, they cease to exist. Totally unlike humans. She wanted so badly to be a real woman. But her grandma warned her that the only way she could have a soul was if the man fell in love with her too. So realizing she could potentially be with him, her heart was filled with hope and joy. So naturally, upon hearing the good news, she goes to the nearest witch she can find, who in this one is not notified as Ursula. She's just the sea witch, so I'm just gonna address her as that. Now here is where the story pretty much does a flip on its head. So in the original, we all know, she's like, I want legs, and Ursula's like, okay, give me your voice. And she gets the legs, Flutter and Sebastian swim her up, and then there's a seagull, and then blah blah blah, it ends with a kiss, 3 days, happily ever after. We all know, unless you haven't seen it, then you're just sad. We're just gonna throw all that out the window. Says Ariel is stupid for wanting this. I can do it, you know, because I'm a witch. You'll be the most beautiful girl and everyone will be amazed, but it'll cost you greatly, says the sea witch, and Ariel's like, okay. Once you reach the surface, it will feel like a double-edged sword is stabbing through you slowly. And Ariel, again, is like, okay. And with every single step you take, it will feel like 1,000 needles are stabbing through your feet. And Ariel's like, okay. And I need to take your voice to do this. And Ariel's like, okay. So she just agrees without saying bye to her family at all. She gives up everything she knows and loves for a man that she just met like a week ago and has stalked ever since. Feeling of the voice goes a lot differently from in the original. In the original, she's like, give me your voice, and it's all spirity, and it's like, ha ha ha, as the weird orb comes out. It's like, keep singing, and then she takes it, put it in a shell, and then later uses it to disguise her. In this one, in the stealing of the voice, Ursula cuts out her tongue with like a jagged knife. Slowly. This was still aimed at children even in its time period. So Ariel, of course, agrees to this. And she swims up to the surface and she drinks the magic potion that will make her human. So she drinks it, and then she feels the feeling of the double-edged sword stabbing through her very body. And she just sprouts legs. There's legs there. So of course she tries to stand and go and find the prince, but the pain. And she falls over, as whenever she takes a step, like mentioned earlier, feels like 1,000 needles are stabbing through her foot. So she falls over, seemingly dead, you know, for kids. And conveniently enough, the prince is just there. He sees her, he saves her, and he takes her to his castle. The Little Mermaid was so excited to be with the prince, but of course she couldn't talk to him. It's not like there's pen and paper or quill and paper in order to conversate. Oh no, I'm illiterate. So she could not talk to him, and the prince, being the prince, I guess, he kept having eyes for other women, just being around. There was even a slave that had a beautiful voice that he thought about going after her with. And so at the beautiful voice thing, Ariel becomes really jealous and needs to find a way to make him fall in love with her, otherwise she's dead meat. So later that day, when they were having a ball, the Little Mermaid decides this is her last chance to sweep the prince off his feet. So as the music plays, she takes to the dance floor, and even with 1,000 needles going through her foot with every step, she dances. She dances to woo him, and it works. It works. How does she know how to dance is another question. She just got legs. The following day, they spent only together, doing couple stuff, like kissing, cuddling, even though she's 15 and he's probably like over 20 because he's looking for marriage. But the Little Mermaid was even more in love with him when doing these actions. Of course, you're kissing, you're canoodling, but the prince was looking for someone else. A beautiful princess, or the woman who saved him. That's who he's been looking for this whole time. He's been trying to find the woman that saved him. And of course, the Little Mermaid cannot say it was her, because pen and paper does not exist. Here's the thing, even though they've been kissing and cuddling, he only thinks of her as a child and quote unquote calls her his dumb little child. So the prince actually falls for another princess, thinking that she is the one that has saved him. And of course it's not her, but it's also not Ursula in disguise. That was just added in the movie. So of course they get married that very day on a boat, and they go out into the sea. And the prince tells Ariel how happy he is to finally found his true love. Jesus Christ, this poor girl. So she's of course invited to the wedding because she's his dumb little child, and it's her last night alive, actually. So in order to like be with her prince for the last few hours of her life, she goes back to the dance floor. So she dances and dances on the dance floor for hours and hours, even though the pain in her feet was growing with each and every step, but it was not as great as the pain of the man she loved dancing with another girl. And so she danced and danced until she looked out onto the waves as the sun was starting to set. Out there she saw her sisters. They had learned of the travesty of the deal that she had made, and they all went to the sea witch themselves, and they each gave the witch a strand of their hair in exchange for a dagger. They tossed the dagger to the Little Mermaid, and the dagger was meant to sever Ariel's fate from the spell the witch had cast. However, in order to do this, she would have to plunge the dagger into the heart of the man she loved most, the prince. and finding she couldn't do it. She couldn't kill the one she loved. So she got onto the ship deck, threw the dagger into the water, and then threw herself into the water and became sea foam on the ocean, and she died. Now, here's where it gets weird. It gets weirder, and honestly, I don't understand it because I couldn't find the actual ending. So I went to YouTube, and there's more, but this person does not explain it well, so I'm just gonna get what my brain could conceive. She didn't die. Because when she died, she became the daughter of the heir. Whose heir? And by her good deeds, she got an immortal soul. She waits in the sky for 300 years until she floats into heaven. The end. Overview of the story, I think it's pretty good. A lot more disturbing and creepy and weird and depressing as hell. So I give it a 4 out of 5. And the missing star is because, like, it gets really confusing and a bit hard to read, even though it was still aimed at kids in its century. Those poor children. This is gonna suck. What's the temperature? Do you know?
Like 50 something.
It's gonna... cold. It's cold. It's really cold.
Baby!
You can stop now.